Have you ever wondered why we check our kids' Halloween candy? Because I always wondered as a kid. To be honest, I always thought it was just my parents wanting to steal like the good stuff, because that's kind of what they did, you know? We'd give them our Halloween candy to check, and then we would get it back and there'd be no chocolate in it. So I just always thought that it was an excuse. And I started doing some research and realized that there's a reason that we check our kids' Halloween candy, and I was shocked, to be honest. I check my kids' Halloween candy too, and of course, you know, I take some. Because, I mean, if you're not stealing your kids' Halloween candy, like, are you really parenting? But anyways, I figured we'd go ahead, jump right in, and I'll tell you a couple of creepy stories of why we have to check our kids' Halloween candy. So the first one is a case in Tucson, Arizona. A mom found a bottle of Dramamine inside of her daughter's trick-or-treat bag. And if you don't know, Dramamine is a anti-nausea, anti-car sickness medicine, and in children it can cause seizures and hallucinations. Now, there was no evidence that was shown that it was done out of malice, but I can't really think of another reason why you would hand a kid a bottle of Dramamine inside of her trick-or-treat bag. So I think there's malice behind that personally. In 2013, a 12-year-old boy in Pennsylvania found a 1-inch razor blade inside of his M&Ms, and police were notified and thought that it had to have come from the actual M&M company, because there's not really a way to open up a bag of M&Ms, add the razor, and then seal it back up without it looking tampered with. In 2015, 2 kids from Manistee, Michigan found razors in their Laffy Taffy and in their Reese's peanut butter cups. The razors were the small ones that you find inside of a pencil sharpener. So they weren't the big ones, they weren't like the ones that you use in an actual razor to shave your body. They were just the little itty bitty ones inside of pencil sharpeners, and they shoved them inside of the peanut butter part and of the Reese's, and then they put them inside of the Laffy Taffy. Police say that the 2 incidences weren't related, but they're from the same neighborhood, which to me doesn't make sense, because I think if they're from the same neighborhood, then the 2 incidences were related. In 2015 in Maryland, a mother called police and said that she found sewing needles pushed into a bunch of her daughter's candy, and when police came, they witnessed it and later found out that it was her who did it, and there was really no motive for it. They didn't know if she was doing it for attention, if she was trying to get somebody in trouble. There's really no reasoning for it, but she herself put the sewing needles inside of her own daughter's candy, which to me is kind of demented. Who's here? Again in 2015, this time in Honolulu, Hawaii, there were multiple cases of sewing needles being put inside of candy. One was found in a Twix, one was found in a Crunch Bar, and then a week later 3 more cases came out saying that they found needles in their candy too. Once again in 2015, was there some sort of like conspiracy going on? Something like on the dark web that said, hey, let's poison children, let's hurt children? I've never seen so many cases happen in 1 year spread out across the country. It's really starting to make me wonder. So in 2015, in Lloydminster, Alberta, Canada, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police reported that at least 2 children found pills stamped APO on them inside of Snickers and other candies. APO is a stamp of Apotex, meaning that they were prescription pills, so they had to have been given to you by a doctor. Police never released what those pills were though. Once again in 2015, a girl in Toronto, Canada bit into a chocolate bar and she found a razor in it. She was the 3rd kid in that city to find something sharp inside of her candy. 2 kids in the Upper Beach area also found sharp objects inside of their candy. One found a thumbtack and the other found a sewing needle. In 2013, a mom took her 16-month-old daughter trick-or-treating. She bit into a Snickers and she immediately started having like a panic attack, but it was a panic attack mixed with a sense of euphoria. And so she thought something was wrong and she went to the emergency room, and when the toxicology test came back, they found out she tested positive for LSD. Again in 2015, a boy in Reynoldsburg, Ohio bit into a Snickers and as he bit into it, he felt like it had a weird consistency, and so he pulled it out of his mouth and there was a razor blade stuck inside of the nougat. This one is sad but funny at the same time, and I know it's not good to laugh, and I know I'm a terrible person for that, but I find it a little humorous, I'm sorry. Helen, I'm gonna read this because there's a lot of information. So Helen Feel poison trick-or-treaters that she thought were too old for the tradition. And she passed out buttons of arsenic and ant poison labeled with a skull and crossbones, along with steel wool pads and dog biscuits. And I thought the steel wool pads and dog biscuits were the funny part. Obviously the ant poison and arsenic was not. She was charged with child endangerment, and then she pled guilty to those charges. And the very last one that I was able to scour the internet and find, which I think is the most famous, be on Ronald O'Brien. He was dubbed the Candyman. He's part of the inspiration for the movie The Candyman. In 1974, he had filled 5 different pixie sticks up with cyanide, and 1 child passed away from that. And if you think that's an interesting story, that's actually going to be my next video, because I kind of fell into a wormhole. I was like, no way, this is insane. And so I went ahead and did like a crap ton of research. If I'm sitting here reading all of this because it's fascinating, I might as well just throw it into a YouTube video, so that's actually going to be my next one. So, or if you want to see other spooky videos, go ahead and give this a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!